Howdy, 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 my name is Nausea, and welcome back to Let's Read the SCP Foundation Wiki. This episode will be shorter than yesterday's episode on account of the fact that I'm recording at 3 o'clock in the morning. Last time we ended with Clark's third favorite sword, and still no idea who the hell Clark is, but we're going to start with the Stepford marriage rings, which I would say are safe in terms of containment, because it's just rings. Okay. 288 is to be kept in a locker, with only security personnel of level 2 clearance or higher given the combination. They are currently contained in the small velvet-lined black box they were retrieved in. Personnel who have worn the rings during testing are to undergo full psychological exams afterwards, and their experience is recorded. Okay then, SCP-288 consists of a woman's engagement ring, hereafter named SCP-288-1, and matching men's band, hereafter referred to as 288-2, both silver in appearance, the ring containing a small diamond. They're relatively plain and bear no marks as to their origins or make, but staff routinely describe them as seeming like very nice wedding rings if a little plain. They are completely normal in every sense and have been damaged by endurance testing, and subsequently repaired through typical jeweling practices, and their effects are only observable while worn. When one is worn by any adult female in a relationship, she immediately becomes what has been portrayed in popular media as an ideal housewife. Women describe this experience as if they are not in control of their body, merely observing their own actions. They lose all ability to form their own opinions and instead automatically agree with the opinions of their spouse and display very few negative emotions, if any. They seem to gain an instinctive knowledge of cooking and baking, and the style considered to be the traditional American style, including such dishes as apple pie or macaroni and cheese. These dishes are always professionally made regardless of prior skill. A similar knowledge is evidenced in the spheres of cleaning and light repair. Subjects regularly display the ability to sew and knit, even if they were not able to do so before donning one. Along with this knowledge, they will feel an innate urge to cook, clean, and mend things around their home incessantly. They lose the will to have a job of their own and become exceedingly obedient and loyal to their spouse, as well as religious and authority figures. Many wearers of one exhibit a fondness for a rather modest dress and are uncomfortable when wearing pants or more revealing clothing. They also develop a fondness for children, and if they do not already have children, express the urge to have them. When 2 is worn by any adult male in a relationship, he undergoes a similar change, taking on the characteristics of popular media's portrayal of an all-American dad, whether or not he has children of his own. Men describe the experience similarly to women in that they feel they are not in control of their actions. He shows loyalty and obedience to political, religious, and authority figures and an innate duty to his current professional management structure. He will work exceedingly long hours without complaint and maintains an upbeat and motivated demeanor at his work. No matter the nature of his former personality, he becomes friendly and easy to approach, good with kids, and fiercely loyal to his spouse. He is always willing to help around the house and willing to please with a shoulder rub. Men with children become attentive, engaged fathers, and men without children express a strong desire to have them. When used collectively, 288 seems to recreate a model of a Stepford marriage. While this seems ideal and relatively harmless, 288 has been responsible for numerous crimes, including spousal abuse, murder, and suicide. Both women and men report feeling trapped while wearing 288 and out of control of their own life. After extended periods of wearing 288, they often have intense feelings of depression and personality displacement. On a more sinister note, somebody wearing either instance of 288 will take virtually any manner of abuse from a spouse without a word or raising a hand to defend themselves. In transsexual transgender individuals, the ring appears to react to their gender identity. Therefore, a transsexual transgender individual assigned male at birth would react to the female ring, rather than the male ring, whether or not they were pre- or post-gender reassignment surgery. Homosexual subjects are affected by their actual gender. A male homosexual will not react to the female ring, just as a female homosexual will not react to the male ring. More testing upon sex and gender is pending. The potential for 288 to create a domestic slave proves disturbing to some and seems useful to others, and records show that it has been used in such a fashion before, say Addendum 288A. Preliminary testing of 288 has proved inconclusive. The rings themselves display no physical anomalies compared to a normal wedding ring of similar type. It is theorized that the rings profile their subjects mimetically, drawing on the experiences present in the subject to influence their behavior upon activation. This theory is supported by 288's ability to differentiate subjects based on their self-perception of gender rather than their physical sex. 288 was discovered by Dr. Wrights. Cloudy with a chance of showers, so there's a story behind that guy. And data expunged, or so that girl. Thankfully, her boyfriend grew wary of her extreme mood changes and called the emergency SCP contact number she had left for him, delivering 288 into the Foundation's hands. I'm just glad I got suckered into it before somebody else did, even if it was horrible, Doctor writes. It should be noted that both instances of 288 resist being separated, and wearers may feel compelled to buy or even steal the rings in order to keep them nearby. It has been revealed through extensive backtracking of 288's history that it has caused 5 instances of homicide, 3 suicides, and 2 reported cases of spousal abuse. It has regularly resurfaced in pawn shops across the United States for at least 80 years, though all attempts to track it past the early 20th century have failed to reveal further evidence. I'm gonna just breeze into here. I'm not sure whether or not this is going to be the story of her having the ring, and it doesn't look very long, but it also is probably not important. If anyone feels that I'm wrong about that, let me know. Okay, so next up would be the inertial amplifier, which sounds like it should be at least Euclid if it's something that amplifies inertia. And it's safe! Well, color me stupid. Currently located at Site 17 under the supervision of Dr. Someone, 289 is to be suspended from a 10 by 10 centimeter platform in the exact center of a 5 by 5 by 5 meter concrete room. It is to be monitored at all times by no fewer than 2 mounted cameras whose video feeds will be recorded and archived if deemed necessary upon review. Even every 30 days, SCP-289 is to be moved to an identical housing facility on the other side of Site 17 to avoid unnecessary inertial buildup. No personnel are allowed to approach closer than 1.6 meter radius of 289 unless they have prior authorization from 2 Level 3 supervisors attached to this project. Additionally, any personnel interacting with 289 are to have read all authorized documents relating to 289 and to have a thorough understanding of its capabilities and the time limits involved. Now, what is it? It is an irregularly shaped mass of hematite. Let's check out what hematite is. A reddish-black mineral consisting of ferric oxide. It is an important ore of iron. Okay, cool. With analysis showing trace amounts of aluminum, phosphorus, data expunged, and water. 289 has the unique property of intensifying the effects of inertia over objects in a 1.6 meter radius over time. If I'm remembering what inertia is correctly, it's probably that's probably why no one is allowed to approach it closer than 1.6 meters. Because inertia, and then they'll slam into a wall or something. I don't know. Objects that remain immobile will become more and more difficult to move, while objects maintaining a constant speed will become very difficult to stop. At best estimate, close proximity to 289 increases an object's inertia by 17% every 160 seconds, with a slightly slower reduction of inertia over time to base levels after being removed from 289's active radius. 289 was retrieved in 1983 after a series of odd traffic accidents in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. On blank 1983, a small car sped uncontrollably through the city for 17 minutes until it finally impacted with the side of a butcher shop and was stopped. All objects located inside the vehicle either exited through the front windshield or were forcibly pressed as far towards the front of the car as they could go. The driver, who remains unidentified, was announced dead at the scene and eventually loaded into an ambulance with some difficulty. On the way to the hospital, the ambulance shared a similar fate as the previous car, with the driver reporting sluggish turning and braking at first, followed by an inability to turn or stop at all, and an intense feeling of being drawn forwards. The ambulance came to a stop after plunging into the North Saskatchewan River. The driver managed to escape from the vehicle and found himself propelled across the river and into the surrounding woods at an estimated 30 kilometers per hour, where he remained pinned to a tree for nearly 45 minutes before his inertia stabilized and he fell to the ground. SCP agents arrived within the week to retrieve the ambulance's contents and were able to identify 289 as the source of the disturbances. 289 was eventually airlifted to Site 17 by being attached to the end of a long tether held below a helicopter to avoid any inertial buildup on the part of the vehicle. Addendum. Those with proper authorization to research the properties of or interact with 289 should see document 289-1 for full safety procedures. So, the radius of 289's action is precisely 1.6 meters. There is never to be more than one person inside this radius at any time. Human interaction with 289 is not necessarily dangerous, but stringent time restraints are in order. No Foundation personnel are to be inside the active radius for more than 90 seconds. During this time of exposure, personnel are advised to alter their speed, acceleration, and position as often as possible to avoid inertial buildup. Objects to be subjected to 289's active field should ideally be introduced to the field by automated means. Long handheld manipulating devices are also acceptable, and for particularly delicate objects or precise adjustments, human interaction is allowed, so long as the time restraints are not violated. Retrieval of stationary objects that remain within 289's active field for more than 800 seconds is nearly impossible. Objects that maintain a constant speed inside the active field for a similar time are nearly impossible to slow or stop. Thus, all experiments should conclude before this threshold time is reached. In the event that an object becomes irretrievable, researchers may petition Dr. Blank Blank to have the object returned after SCP-289 is moved to its new enclosure during monthly transferal protocol, and the requested object's inertia has returned to standard levels. Transfer of 289 from holding area Alpha to holding area Beta or back is to be performed every 30 days. During this procedure, hallway 121 is to be completely evacuated, and all adjoining doors are to be locked at security level 3. 289 is to be removed from its suspension platform and placed inside of one of the rubber spheres located in the adjoining storage area. The sphere is to be rolled down the hallway towards the opposite holding area at a speed of no greater than 0.5 kilometers per hour, which should remain steady for the duration of the relocation. Once the sphere comes to a stop, 289 is to be removed and placed on the new suspended platform. So, it sounds like it would be good for security if nothing else. Like, I know it's suspended so it's not touching anything, but if they were to put it onto, like, the floor, it sounds like the building would be indestructible after 800 seconds. Or at least it couldn't be taken away. So they could theoretically use that thing for hurricane-proofing houses. I doubt that's what they're going to use it for, though. They're probably just going to keep it away from anything. The Picasso machine. Okay. Oh, God. Previously, Agent someone post-exposure. SCP-290 is to be held in a 5x5x5 meter cell at Site-19. Personnel are forbidden from interacting with it except during an approved testing procedure, and any personnel who attempt to do so must be terminated with any force necessary. During any interaction with 293, guards with full knowledge of the object must flank the object's aperture. Anyone other than disposable dudes attempting to enter must be removed from the object's cell. Subjects who undergo reconfiguration are terminated at the conclusion of experimentation. Why did they take the time to take a picture of this man before they destroyed him? Look at this. There's like spine, leg, arm, possibly also arm. It's like a body shaped like a hand, and taking this picture was entirely too long to experience this type of a lifestyle. Anyway, I'm gonna have to look at that ever again. 290 is a hollow metallic sphere, 3 meters in diameter, with a circular opening of diameter 90 centimeters cut into one side. The sphere is welded to 4 metal posts 50 centimeters in height. Scans have shown that 290 is composed of a combination of aluminum and data expunged, many of which do not match any known atomic structure. All attempts to take samples of the metal for more detailed analysis have failed. The external temperature of the sphere remains constant at 318 Kelvin, which is 45 degrees Celsius, regardless of the ambient conditions. As no power source for the device has been found, how it maintains the temperature is as yet unknown. Researchers have noted that the personnel appear to display slightly elevated curiosity about 290's function, although whether this is evidence or of a psychological effect or simply due to its abnormality is not known. Should a subject enter 290 through the circular opening, the aperture will shrink rapidly, rendering the inside section inaccessible. After 5 to 20 minutes, the aperture will reopen. No sound can be heard emanating from 290 during this period. Subjects emerge from this process alive, conscious, albeit often in a state of extreme distress, but with their anatomy significantly altered. Limbs, facial features, and redacted appear to be relocated randomly yet without losing functionality. Fingers and toes are often removed from the hands and feet, and eyes rarely ever remain in a configuration lending itself to binocular vision. Almost all subjects report pain and discomfort in breathing and movement, if either remain possible, with most unable to walk or perform any type of effective locomotion. They will not be doing the locomotion. Autopsies performed on afflicted subjects reveal that a similar reconfiguration occurs internally, with organ placement changed and blood vessels/nerves lengthened to fit the new arrangement. Evidence of a severe internal bleeding and hemorrhage of other bodily fluids is often present, although subjects display none of the connected symptoms or retrieval from 290, and no subject has died as a direct result of exposure to the object. Subjects' bones show evidence of large-scale fracturing, but also rapid healing, ostensibly a part of the modification process. Subjects remain conscious throughout the reconfiguration. See Addendum 291 for details. Disposable Dude 59414, male 18. Supervisor Dr. S, 290 Elite Researcher. Purpose: ascertain the experiences of subjects within 290. Disposable Dude was exposed to 290, having had no prior experience with the object. Subject immediately inquired as to its function, to which Dr. S replied, "That is what we intend to find out." After several subsequent inquiries from the subject were rebuffed, subject was provided with an IR-sensitive video camera and ordered to enter the object. Subject complied without resistance. Aperture reopened 17.4 minutes after closure, and subject and video camera were retrieved. The video camera was heavily damaged during the experiment due to the subject's violent convulsions, and around 65% of the footage is unintelligible. A transcript of the video feed recovered from the camera follows. Video feed initially shows subject sitting calmly in the center of 290. Center RE. Okay, so the person who wrote this is not from the country I'm in. I suppose they could just be really proper. 290, looking around and examining his surroundings by touch at intervals. This continues for around 2 minutes, at which point the subject begins clutching his chest and groaning. Subject then begins to scream, including the phrase, "I was only curious, but I know now. Please let me go." Whether this indicates a secondary consciousness inhabiting the subject's mind with which he was conversing is unknown. It is at this point that the subject begins flailing, impacting the camera repeatedly and causing it to record only small fragments of footage. Fragments of interest are noted below in chronological order. Subject's head appears to be slowly embedding itself into his thigh, both eyes absent. Subject's fingers visible on his torso. Subject's eye moving across his right foot, eyeball changing orientation rapidly as it does so. Subject lying in a pattern reminiscent of the fetal position, slow breathing audible. End transcript. A debriefing interview was scheduled, but owing to the subject's larynx being relocated away from his trachea, could not be conducted. Autopsy showed wide-scale reorganization of the subject's internal organs, including a small-scale fusing of parts of the small intestine and data expunged, resulting in a contamination of the chest cavity, data expunged. Despite this, the subject had a normal volume of blood within his circulatory system, and levels of other bodily fluids such as bile were within normal parameters. How 290 maintains or replenishes these fluids is unknown. I was hoping the word Picasso would be in there somewhere. So, for the sake of understanding, okay, so that's Pablo Picasso, and this is the kind of paintings he did. At least when he decided to not paint normally anymore. He decided to paint in his own way. His own way is this stuff. This stuff is what's happening to the people that go into that machine. So, the Picasso machine. Followed by the disassembler/reassembler. 200, SCP-200 through 299. What the hell is wrong with you guys? Seriously. Specifically 281 through 290 so far. What is wrong with you guys? Jeez. Anyway, the disassembler. Which is safe. 291 must remain disconnected from any power source when not in use for testing. A team of 2 personnel should remain on guard outside 291's containment room and will be swapped out weekly. While disconnected from a power supply, 291 may be considered safe. What is it considered when it's plugged into something? 291's main entryway closes and locks upon disconnection from a power supply, but the door may be opened manually from the interior in the event of any personnel being trapped. That reminds me of the dinosaurs from Jurassic Park and how people could get trapped inside while cleaning them and die. I don't know if anyone's actually died, but there was one guy who fetal positioned himself to survival. Anyway, all blocks of disassembled organism are to be kept stored in a designated storage locker within the containment room, and are to be properly labeled with a Sharpie marker. Personnel responsible for lost or damaged blocks will be moved to other projects. 291 was located and data expunged. We're off to a fantastic start. 291 resembles a small building and structure, a nearly featureless steel box measuring 10.5 by 30.2 meters at its base and 15 meters tall. I wonder how many feet that is. Also, I apologize for yawning, but again, it's like pushing 4 AM right now. 49 feet. I don't know why I had to go into a whole website for that. I was kind of expecting Google to just say it. On one of the narrow sides, there's a large door, 5 meters wide, that opens upwards, similar to a garage door, composed of metal slats a few inches high each. There is no handle on the exterior of the door, and while closed, all attempts to open it using non-destructive methods have failed. The interior of the door features a lock that can be opened manually to lift the door for a few seconds before an unknown mechanism will force it shut again. At the other end of 291 is a similar opening with a lock and handle on the exterior and interior, allowing the door to be opened from either side. Two small similar hatches only 1 meter by 1 meter can be found to the left of both doors and may be opened from the exterior. The materials that compose 291 do appear to be as strong as any other example would suggest, and a force that would normally bend or cut through steel will do the same to 291. Such testing is currently not allowed due to the risk of damaging it. The interior of 291 is not well explored due to the extremely tight confines of the machinery and strong pulses of electromagnetic energy through various points while activated. When connected to a suitable power source, 291 activates with mechanical clanks and buzzing, and the entryway door springs open. The room inside is 4 by 2 meters with a rather simple console board, a large display screen, and what has been described as a plexiglass coffin to one side, suitable in size for most humans under 7 feet in height who are not morbidly obese. Okay, so I'm safe. The coffin rests on a conveyor belt, a meter in height, the coffin itself being approximately a meter deep with a blue-green gel cushion of unidentified material lining the bottom. It has been described as pleasantly form-fitting and very cool and soft. By who? Several tubes emerge from the side of the room over the coffin. Opposite the coffin, a number of cubby holes of various sizes with small doors may be opened or closed or are present on the wall. Their purpose shall be elaborated upon later. Safe. And here's Dr. Wrights again. Happy birthday from nobody. How many stories does this woman get? When a living person or animal is laid in the coffin, dead organisms with a mass of less than 1.6 kilograms and groups of multiple organisms trigger no reaction. No matter their position, the control room moves into the ready state. In this state, the display screen shows a scanned green-lined image of the organism in the coffin, and the buttons on the console board become operable. Some of the smaller buttons will trigger different effects in the displayed image, such as toggling the skin and muscle of the display on and off, and revealing certain organs and organ systems, whether in real time or frozen depending on more settings. There are no words, numbers, or symbols on the display or any of the buttons, and all buttons have 2 settings, on in which they glow, and off in which they are unlit. Various combinations produce different effects, and Dr. Wrights has been kind enough to spend enough time playing with it to work up a crude user's manual. 3 large buttons, visibly different from the controls for the display, are available to the side. Okay, pause. Dr. Wrights is the lady who discovered the mind control Stepford Wives ring. Dr. Wrights is also the lady who has been kind enough to play with a thing called the disassembler/reassembler that has a memory foam green coffin in it. Who the hell is Dr. Wrights, and what is her problem? I believe this is the first I've heard of her while I've been covering this wiki, and I was just going to breeze right on past that story and probably never go back to it again. But she has come up twice in 2 different articles in the same episode, so I will come back to this woman someday. Anyway, 3. Provided that a living organism is lying in the coffin, the first button may be pressed. Pressing any buttons under other circumstances yields no effect, and the button remains off no matter how many times pressed. And the tubes extending over the coffin dispense a blue liquid into the coffin. This unidentified liquid acts as a sedative upon skin contact, and the occupant of the coffin quickly falls unconscious. The liquid can apparently be inhaled and swallowed without any harm. Disposable dudes have reported the taste similar to Kool-Aid. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. Samples have yielded little resultant identification. Once the coffin is filled to the brim, the liquid quickly congeals into a thick syrup and then to a solid gel. Over this period, the occupant's detectable bodily functions, such as breathing and heartbeat, cease. This may be observed on the display screen. Once the liquid fully solidifies, the display screen shuts off and the conveyor belt starts to move. All attempts to stop the conveyor belt and remove either the coffin or the occupant cause the entire process to shut down, after which the blue liquid evaporates within a few minutes and the subject regains consciousness unharmed. The conveyor belt carries the coffin and occupant through a small door that quickly locks closed, and the entire machine becomes a cacophony of mechanical clanking, whirring, and grinding. The display screen will only display a rectangle that slowly fills, like a loading bar, as 291 does its work. Depending upon the size of the organism, 291 finishes its as of yet unknown process in approximately 20 to 30 minutes, at which point the product can be retrieved at the opposite end of 291. The back door of 291 leads to a similar chamber, also containing a conveyor belt similar to the one that holds the coffin in the entryway. There is also a series of 24 cubby holes or lockers, identical to those found in the entry room. These cubby holes may be pulled out to retrieve their contents, parts of the organism disassembled and preserved in blocks of an unidentified clear liquid. These blocks are quite strong, but they can be melted by extremely high temperatures or shattered by sharp blows from a pick. However, breaking the blocks ruins the preservation method of 291 and results in the preserved object being unusable. The rest of the block quickly begins to dissolve into dust after a few minutes. See addendum for block designation. Whole blocks, however, may be stored indefinitely until being reinserted into 291 via the cubby holes in the entrance room. Each block has a distinct size and will only fit snugly in its designated hole. Placing blocks in the wrong holes gets no reaction from the machine and will prevent it from being reactivated until the problem is fixed. Cubbies may be left empty, however, and it will function as normal. It is ill-advised to leave a cubby containing a vital organ empty. When the blocks are placed correctly and the doors to them shut, the second button on the console may be pressed. This does not work if the display shows a loading bar or as another operation is taking place. The doors to the cubby holes lock for a few seconds, during which 291 removes them through some means, and the machinery of the device grows louder, accompanied by another loading bar on the display screen. Reassembly takes slightly longer, approximately 45 minutes to finish, after which a plexiglass container similar to the initial coffin emerges from a door on the conveyor belt in the exit room, holding a fully assembled organism immersed in a blue liquid that slowly evaporates as the organism wakes. Reassembled organisms have no memory of the process, likening the experience to a very restful, dreamless sleep. They awaken with some slight disorientation, but this passes after a few minutes, and they complain about being very hungry. Tests reveal that they are reassembled with their stomachs empty. Organisms are also reassembled nude and devoid of any hair. A block containing what has been identified as the contents of the organism's digestive system, hair, scraps of clothing, and any other objects on the organism is deposited into one of the small side doors outside the main doors and may be considered waste. Surveillance and scanning equipment sent inside the machine is disposed of in the same way, often twisted and wrecked. Later testing revealed that organisms can be reassembled in different, potentially malicious ways. See addendum for testing results. Oh boy. The third option is only to be used should something go wrong when the production stops and the button blinks. It undoes whatever has been done the best it can and shuts down the whole process while triggering some kind of cleaning and reset method. Addendum. Blocks are clear and therefore the organs and body parts contained within may be easily identified and observed. The body is divided up as such, or like such. Brains, lungs and diaphragm, heart, digestive system, reproductive organs, left eye, right eye, upper left torso and arm musculature up to the elbow and various organs, upper right torso and arm muscular up to the elbow and various organs, lower blah 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 blah, lower left leg, foot, right leg, left arm, left, stick your hand in, poke it all about, that's what it's all about, hokey pokey. Let's see. Oh, the skin's folded though, that's nice of the machine to fold the skin. Testing results. Reassembling a body without vital organs results in the production shutting down, requiring the use of the third button. The body will be redeposited in block form at the exit, still inert. Reassembling a body without non-vital organs or body parts will result in that organ or body part being absent when the organism wakes, the wounds sealed by unknown means that leave little to no scar tissue. Providing a body part for a missing body part will result in said body part being attached to its new body seemingly without fail. It is proved effective for heart transplants, limb transplants, and exchanging skin from one person to another. Swapping the brains of two people results in a complete transfer of that person's personality and memories, and may be reversed, although subjects are often very disoriented for several days and complain of psychological and physical discomfort like wearing shoes not quite the right size. Swapping body parts between different species has yielded mixed results. Dr. Rice has suggested that testing continue and the request is pending. Only 3 successful cross-species transfers have occurred out of the 20 tests performed so far. A cat's left eye was swapped for a human's left eye. The subject could use the eye fully, and mentioned that they felt they had adapted to it rather well. Their new left eye displayed all the capabilities of a cat's eye, including difficulty seeing colors and heightened perception in the dark. Although this test was unauthorized, the results were considered to be mildly impressive enough to allow further testing. The cat, given a human eye, clawed its human eye out in a week. 7. A human's brain was successfully transferred into the body of an English Mastiff, reportedly thanks to the dog's large skull size. He requested to be transferred back to his human body as soon as possible, though. The Mastiff, in the human's body, learned to walk upright within a few hours and was disassembled again after an incident involving the humiliation of a female doctor. Let's see now. A female Class D personnel had her reproductive organs switched with those of a pregnant Labrador Retriever. You may note that they don't say what happened at the end of that one. All they say is no tests involving using 291 with other SCPs have yet been authorized. Maybe they should use it on that one unkillable gigantic lizard. But I doubt they're going to use it on that one unkillable gigantic lizard. Since it's unkillable, and then if they ever reanimated it, it would probably be very upset. But they should probably consider using it on the giant unkillable lizard. Anyway. So, that was very disturbing. This is probably a good stopping point for this episode. In the next episode, I can only imagine it's going to get worse, but we're going to start with the egg timer of deja vu, so maybe it won't be that bad. Obsession will probably be pretty bad. The coffee machine will probably be weird. Caterpillars will probably be horrifying, and it sounds like it's just going to get worse from there. So, this has been Nausea Sasuke. This is episode 70 of Let's Read the SCP Foundation Wiki. If you liked it, a like and a subscribe would be groovy. If you didn't, you don't need to do either one of those things. And I will see y'all in the next one. Later.